Each week on Culinary Confidential, Christina Cates, a seasoned foodie who has worked at some of New York City's top restaurants, will share her passion for the culinary world. Whether you're a professional chef, a restaurant enthusiast, or a lover of good food, Christina dives into the heart of hospitality, exploring the trends, triumphs, and challenges facing the food service profession. And you won't want to miss her chats with some of the most interesting and influential industry voices. And now, please take your seat at the table as Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates starts now, exclusively on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates. This show is produced in association with my dear friend, Lucas A. Ferrara. Tonight, I welcome to the show and in studio with me a man whose name is synonymous with adventure, hospitality, and unforgettable toasts, Zamir Gotta. Born and raised in the former Soviet Union, Zamir has spent his life building bridges between cultures, originally as a translator and cultural liaison, but then as a producer and fixer for film and television crews, and later as the charismatic companion of Anthony Bourdain on No Reservations and Parts Unknown. With his quick wit, love of storytelling, and unmatched ability to turn a glass of vodka into a lesson in diplomacy, Zamir became more than just a guide. He became a symbol of connection across borders. Zamir became widely recognized through those collaborations with Anthony Bourdain. In 2002, he first appeared as Bourdain's guide in Russia, introducing him to Russian culture, vodka traditions, and post-Soviet life. Then, from about 2006 to 2012, Zamir returned in several episodes, becoming a fan-favorite travel companion. The episodes in Russia, Ukraine, and the U.S. mixed humor, heartfelt conversation, and cultural exchange. He became known for his warm personality, sharp wit, and love of vodka, often using humor and honesty to bridge East and West cultural gaps. Beyond television, he has worked tirelessly as a cultural ambassador, bringing Russian films to the West, American stories to Russia, and reminding us all that people-to-people connections matter more than politics. This feels especially important right now with the temperature of global politics. Zamir Gotta is, in his own words, a Russian soul with a global heart. And I am thrilled to have him all to myself for the next hour, but to share him with all of my listeners. This show with Zamir has been months in the making. I was connected with him shortly after Anthony Bourdain Day on June 25th. At that time, he was in the U.S., but then went back to Russia for the next several months. He's now back in the States doing a press tour for his new book, The Fixer and the Chef, My Adventures with and Without Anthony Bourdain. But I've been a bit of a pen pal with Zamir these past few months while waiting to have him on the show. We would email back and forth nice messages to each other of encouragement, and it would overwhelm me at times with the realization that there aren't many people like Zamir in this world. Someone who stops their busy everyday life to just send a note, and it made me think, that's why he's as important as he is and makes such an impression on the global stage. Okay, let me please welcome to the show tonight, Mr. Zamir Gotta. Welcome to Culinary Confidential.
Hello, kids. Uncle Zamir is back to the land of the brave and the free.
We're excited to have you here tonight, Zamir.
Thank you for inviting me, really.
First of all, we have to wish you a very happy early birthday. Your birthday's in just a few days on October 21st, so this is really just a treat for everyone that this lined up exactly 3 days before your birthday.
Thank you so much.
So happy birthday.
In Russia, we have some superstitions.
Yes.
So honestly, people don't say happy birthday before.
Okay, I take it back.
With you should take it back, and we could anticipate big parties like in Detroit at Anchor Bar, just in case if you happen to be in that area, there'll be like a real blast.
Oh, so that's where you're going to be on your birthday?
Yeah, Detroit. I love the city. But
amazing.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But Zamir, when people think of you, they think of toast, travel, and storytelling. How do you introduce yourself when you meet someone new?
If you don't mind, I'll bring back my memories how I met my wife, who was not my wife yet. She was 19. I was, I think, 28. And we met by pure coincidence, working at by the way, Ted Turner brought the Goodwill Games to Russia. I think it was 1986.
Okay.
So I worked as a translator with the Swedish referees for handball, Katya, at that time I didn't know her. My future wife was a Swedish translator with the Finnish handball team. So it was like, nothing happens without the reason. So when we met and the Swedes introduced us, she said in a very, polite, casual voice, like Katya Chimadanova. Her last name sounds like fun in Russia, like kind of Katya suitcase kind of thing, if you translate word for word.
Okay.
I would introduce myself as I normally do, like Ya Zamir, my full name in Russian, which is translated I am for peace, like kind of
I
not
am
everybody,
for
but
peace.
it's like I am for peace.
I love that.
My parents probably having a good time in 1956 and decided to give me like Mahatma Gandhi kind of, blessing for peacemaking. I guess that's probably the reason. And Gotta, sounds like more Italian, like Gatti,
Right.
than anything. So she was kind of, shaking my hand, and I said, Katya, should we get serious in the future, could I be Zamir, shortened version, Chimadanov, like Zamir suitcase, and you will be Katya Gotta. She was kind of shocked because normally men don't switch,
That's right.
wedding. And then she said, I don't trade my last name. I said, that's the girl I need. Believe me or not, just editorially, that was 100% the case. So back to you, I'm like Zamir, and when people don't quite understand that kind of sound of it, especially in Russia, I explain, I am for peace, like in Russian. Ya Zamir. It's like 3 words in one.
I think
Ya
that's so
Zamir.
special.
It's kind of interesting. Sometimes I did suffer because not many girls whom I would, meet before my, destined wife, Katya, they wouldn't believe. They thought that I was joking because they say,
Right.
we're all Zamir. But, I said, here's my passport. I don't think I have it on me. Luckily
Yeah.
in the U.S., it's just the driving license. But that's kind of fun and sometimes a bit sad.
Okay, you are famously known as Anthony Bourdain's travel companion, but you are a cultural bridge in your own right. Let's start by discussing your life before Anthony Bourdain came into the picture.
Well, it's...
Well, let me back up for a second,
Yeah.
because I did read your book, The Fixer
Oh,
and the Chef.
thank you.
Which you so graciously sent to me, and I showed you. I took it all over the world with me this summer.
I saw that.
I laid
kept
in
an
the
eye on
south
it.
of France reading about your life growing up in the former Soviet Union. And I just want to know, what shaped your curiosity about the world?
Well, kids, it's all about reading. So my mom, also Katya, Yekaterina, the full name, would teach me German because she was a teacher of German at a boarding school for like abandoned kids. And then English came up thanks to my aunt Tamara, who was a teacher of English. So basically I was raised, by women, like normally the kids are, with that thrust for foreign languages, which definitely helped me to become more of a peacemaker than less, because at least at an early age, I was already thinking about bridges, like, reading about Mahatma Gandhi, that bridges between different nations, different countries. And I always believed in public diplomacy more than probably Henry Kissinger at that time. But seriously, now I do believe more in a people diplomacy, like meeting you, meeting Ryan. It's just a new chance to look at myself through your eyes, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Some people don't like the mirror. They hate the mirror. They break the mirror if they don't like what they see. For me, it's just another chance to look at myself through your eyes.
So you're actually very fortunate that you grew up having influences in your life like that, because not everyone had those opportunities growing up in the former Soviet Union to have access to those kinds of cultural literacies.
100% the case. So I was blessed
Yeah.
by my parents, and, God bless their souls in heaven, that they gave me that opportunity to learn foreign languages when it was a Cold War. No one thought that I would ever be traveling outside of that Iron Curtain.
That's right. I became a little sad when I was reading your book, those early years, the way you had to live in the former Soviet Union. It was very confined. There was a lot of people to one apartment. It was very cold there. There wasn't always heat or running hot water. Can you expand a little bit more about that time in your life?
Well, American kids, you're like spoiled brats most of the time.
Totally,
You
on
don't
every
take
level.
anything for granted. You just think that you're entitled to. I don't want to generalize, but that's what I see
Yeah.
more than less. But once you are born in a space like probably double size of your production room with about 11 people
That's
around
crazy.
you, can you imagine that with one toilet available plus another family, like 3 people only though? Then you would probably start cherishing the moment
The
of
simplicities
privacy,
of
the simplicity of life.
Wow.
The being determines the thinking. That's my personal conclusion.
How did you find your way into film and television production?
Thank you so much. Very important question. God bless my cousin Akhror Akbarkhajaev. This is like the Uzbek line comes into the picture.
Okay.
My aunt Tamara, who was teaching me English earlier than I went to school, she fell in love with Uzbek ethnic in Moscow, and Akmal, her husband, was a film academy student sent from Uzbekistan, one of the 14 Soviet republics. So once he graduated from it, he took my aunt, there was no choice, to go to Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, for him to work at that Uzbek film, naturally. But his son, my cousin Akhror, 9 years older, sadly he passed away last year, and that was another reason for me just to stop by in Uzbekistan with my travelers and kind of visit his grave. He brought me into the film set at the age of 9 or 10 when he was doing his film director's diploma work in Moscow in film
So
academy.
again, you had more opportunities than most others
I am blessed.
have. You were
I'm like
blessed.
the lucky dude.
Yeah, that's right.
So don't give me credit. It's just like the way I was destined to move into Iraq when I was graduating from teachers training college. All of a sudden, it's like once in a lifetime. The Soviet Union at that time needed free labor, like translation job, and I was selected as one of 5 brightest, like best achievers in our class and sent to Iraq for internship. And then the war started. So filmmaker, I'm sorry.
And then you stayed
the
there longer
peacemaker.
than you originally anticipated.
Yeah, because during the war, Saddam started the war in Iran. Not too many kids do the history homework, and it was 1980, like 3 months after I landed and worked at the hydropower station in northern Iraq, which now people know as Kurdistan. At that time, nobody just would even think about Kurds because they were oppressed by Saddam and his regime, right, as the Shia minority. Sunnis were represented by Saddam, though they were in the minority, not the majority. They were still running the country. So anyway, with the war, and my internship was kind of under the question mark because the American fighters, which were given to the Shah of Iran as friends of U.S., in 1979, the Shah was ousted, so all of that high-tech equipment ended up with, Khomeini and his regime. So they bombed the hydropower station where I was with sophisticated American bombers, fighters, rather.
That's right.
So God bless my soul, like 4 other engineers who were forced to stay beyond borders, meaning that we were on a strict contract with the Iraqi government, so we had to stay regardless of the war. So that was tough experience for a 23, 24-year-old young man, single.
But it really was your only opportunity to get out of the Soviet Union.
Not only that, it was English-speaking practice, like conversational on everyday basis, which I was deprived, back in the USSR.
Sure.
So that was the only way to get the knowledge and be exposed to many other jobs, thanks to the English language.
How many languages do you speak, Zamir?
Well, let me be honest. In my teachers training college, we had second language as German, so I do speak and understand it better than, let's say, French, which I started learning on my own. Fell in love with the tutor, but once she left for Paris, honestly, I lost interest. So, Spanish, I started just to read, but it didn't go far away. But when in Iraq, I had to learn a little bit of Arabic, because that's the majority, and Kurdish, which is Farsi, like Iranian language, to survive through different Bishmarga, the local guerrillas who were kidnapping foreigners, including Russians, if they are lucky, to exchange for their prisoners of war. So let's say 4, maybe, kind of. But
Wow.
English and German would be probably my, main languages.
You've lived a life, Zamir. Let me tell you. You've lived more life before the age of 20 than most people have done their whole life.
You're right. And that's why the book, probably you now understand much better why it took me 14 years after Tony urged me to write it, because I thought he was joking. In 2011,
Right.
after one of the events, he would invite me to his Guts and Glory public appearances North American tour in certain cities like Dallas, Cleveland, Boston, Buffalo, Kansas City. So two of us were there, not on cameras, just like his public appearance. He would ask me to present him on stage, God knows for what reasons. The quickest money I would be paid for 2 minutes introduction, like $3,000. And IRS, I paid all the money due, just in case. It's my taxable income with the green card, as you know. But I think he just needed someone to be with him, because in some places like Dallas, he probably wouldn't expect more conservative audience to break the ice. So that's why he needed me as an icebreaker. That's how I look at it.
Okay, meeting Anthony Bourdain. Let's shift to the moment your paths crossed. How did you first meet Anthony, and what was that encounter like?
Just a brief version.
No, please don't skimp on the deets.
As the freelance field producer in Russia, who used to work with a lot of big networks, ABC News, BBC, Australian television, German, Canadian, you name it. And then all of a sudden, like out of the blue, his friend and producer of that food network, first show for Tony, Cook's Tour, would call me saying that Zamir, someone who was recommended in St. Petersburg, I'm a Muscovite, disappeared, so would you be interested to help us set up a couple of things like food-wise in St. Petersburg? And it was freezing cold. The budget was lower than anything I ever heard. We had to rent.
What was the
apartment.
budget? Do you even remember?
It was so minimum that even
there was
I
no
don't want
budget.
to go
It
back
was just
into this.
everything needs
Otherwise, people
to be
won't
free.
pay me the real rates in the market. So anyway, I have a lot of friends in St. Petersburg. I never expected someone to come in a serious professional way. Like chefs. For me, I had stereotypes at that time. It's just like kind of plunky women, like a little bit bumpy and stuff with grooved kind of, boobs but anyway, once again, my instincts are just go for it. Don't even think about the money or the budget or rented apartments we had to do. And here comes that guy, the skinny dude who would, change my life, like lives of
like
many
in
other
an
people.
instant.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize this was more than just work, though, that the two of you had real, honest chemistry?
Probably at my home place, like in Moscow apartment after the show was filmed, like normally 6-7 days in St. Petersburg. Tony and his first wife, Nancy, were living to New York from Moscow because he was writing his book, Cook's Tour, same as the show, and needed to get a little bit of a Moscow glimpses, so we had dinner at my home and really connected my wife Katya with Nancy, myself, our daughter Anna at that time. So it was more like chemistry. It's hard to explain. We were at the same age when we met, 44. He was ex-junkie, ex-alcoholic.
That's right.
I was like many other things, as you know, different trades and stuff.
Yeah.
And somehow it was like, some kind of a...
You just felt accepted together.
Yeah. It's hard to
Do you
explain.
Remember when he came to your apartment that time, like what you prepared for them?
Of course.
What did you put out?
Because that was my wife's. I don't cook, so probably I'm not
You don't cook?
the best guest for your audience. But since my wife is a good one, Katya, thank you for everything you do. She did our most favorite family kind of signature meal, which was stuffed duck with sour apples called Antonovka. And definitely Tony would plunge into that, same as Nancy. All of us, some Russian zakouski, cold cuts like, meat cuts, fish, pickled stuff, of course. But definitely the main course was overwhelming. And Tony said, well, listen, probably should you decide to move to U.S., I will probably find you a job. But we've already had green cards, so we lived around the world when we had a job to do and something to consider. And that's how our chemistry ended up in 10 more episodes.
I love that. Okay, Zamir, let's head to our first commercial break. Okay, stay tuned. You're listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates and Zamir Gotta on AM 970 The Answer.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970. The Answer.
Welcome back to the show. Joining me in the studio tonight is Zamir Gotta, Russian-born producer, cultural ambassador, and the unforgettable travel companion of Anthony Bourdain on No Reservations and Parts Unknown. Zamir, welcome back into the studio. What a journey you've had to come here tonight. We started in Russia, through Uzbekistan.
13-hour flight to New York to feel that the shutdown really is there.
Oh, yes, the
there were
government
like 3 officers
shutdown.
for 400 people.
I'm
packed
sorry about
plane,
that.
2 hours, you know.
I'm sorry.
No
that
fun.
was no
fun.
No welcome for you.
No.
But you're here now.
Yes.
You know what? Start us off with a toast for this next segment tonight.
Okay.
I wish we had some vodka, to be honest with you.
Just pretend that you
Yeah,
have.
let's just pretend.
Ryan,
Okay.
Ryan, but be
It's the
careful.
next best thing.
You're only like 23, so that's why I keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
So, to peace, to love, to happiness, and more importantly, to the bridges we create. Let's
that's
create
special.
bridges, not destroy them. That's
Thank
as
you.
simple as that. L'chaim. I
L'chaim.
pew bottoms up. You don't have to.
Here, Ryan. Cheers me. Thank you.
Yeah, as I'm cheering with my water bottle, my iron flask.
And flat sounds great.
Okay, you are famous for your toasts. What makes raising a glass such a powerful act of connection?
Let me just bring you back a little bit, like 2 steps away.
Okay.
So for me, when I decided to come up with the Zamir vodka brand, kind of, Moscow-born, New York-grown kind of idea.
Okay.
So I use the Russian recipe, which is simple. It's wheat. It's like winter crop wheat. Nothing special, right? Just normal. And the great source of water. It should be like, real spring kind of water. So it took me a while, but with Tony's inspiration, because at that time he was planning to open his Tier 57 food court to be named after him. But sadly, his gig didn't take off, but my gig did take off. So I produced like 7,000 bottles as the first limited batch in hope Tony would put a couple of sample bottles on top shelf at his place. It didn't happen. So I had to move it like as one man, my own ambassador, going into Texas, Michigan, New York State, just to push my, I call that a spirit of happiness, like my juice, my peace juice.
Your peace juice. I will never think of vodka any other way except a peace juice.
But you need to know what you're drinking. Not everything is, which you call vodka, is a peace juice. It took me a while to test it, as you understand.
Of course.
5 times distilled.
Wow.
Stays into it. It's all about the carbon filters, this distillation. So it's chemistry again.
So I bet you and Anthony put down a few bottles of vodka when you sat down at a table together.
Our personal record
let's hear it.
was 3 liters, like 3 bottles.
Oh, my gosh.
Liter each in Ukraine episode.
Was there a hangover after that?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay.
You can't cheat, but we are professional people, so next day, like 7:30 a.m., we were at breakfast.
And what
Not
was your
talking-
breakfast?
not
What
talking to
cures
each
the
other.
hangover for Zamir?
Well, it all depends. Tony wouldn't eat much because that's his kind of chemistry. For me, it's like eggs. I could eat eggs like before drinking, after drinking, instead of drinking. So it was like fried eggs with bacon. That's my
like
best.
American breakfast.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you think food and drink succeed where politics often fails?
100%.
Always, right?
It just, I have no doubts about it. And I can give you a couple of examples, right? So I was a translator for Russian Ministry of Power about 1990, 1991, when Soviet Union was kind of collapsing.
Right.
So we had negotiations in Delhi, India, with the Ministry of Electrification.
You really are a man of the world.
Well, listen, that's my destiny. I was destined to do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at me. Just I didn't do anything extraordinary. Just happened to be in the right place in the right time. So the Indians were tough negotiators. It was about Jammu and Kashmir, very disputable area between the Pakistan and India. Cut long story short, it was a lunch break. That's when the bridges were created with toasts. That's where I happened to be demonstrating as the youngest one that we all are humans. We just eat different recipe of a similar ingredients and drink basically same booze, but distilled or produced, filtered in different ways.
Oh, I
At
love
the
that.
end of the day, we had the first breakthrough. At least the letter of intent was signed after 1 month of getting nowhere.
You've worked to show a Russia beyond the politics. What do you wish more people understood?
There is a phenomenon called mysterious Russian soul. Ethnically, I am not Russian. I am one of the last 500s called Crimean Jews, Krimchak. So whenever you have a minute, like in my book, probably in chapter 2, you would see that the very strange name, because it's kind of Turkish origin, Krimchak, like a resident of Crimea. And not too many people know, especially the kids who don't do the history lessons, that it used to be a free island of Greek people, Italians, Tatars, like Crimean Tatars, and Jews, like Krimchaks, basically Crimean Jews, living in very peaceful collaboration, cooperation, until Russian Tsarina Catherine fell in love and took that piece of golden land from Turkey, basically annexed it, looks familiar to something which we know is happening, and it became Russian.
Okay, I'm looking at you now, Zamir. I see some tattoos on your arms peeking out from under your shirt. Can you tell me the meaning behind them?
Sure. And only for the kids who are 21 plus. So, Ryan, could you moderate that audience at some point? Because, it's not that there is any obscene scenes or something, but since, Tony had signature knives on many of his books and at some of his events. So once he took his life, I decided to kind of commemorate that first tattoo. I was 61, never planned to have one, so we had more of a blood connection, kind of metaphorically. And sadly, on the other, forearm, I have a feather as a dedication to my son Anton, who was actually named after Anthony. It was like the same year when we met. And like a couple of weeks after that dinner at our home, my wife Katya got good news that she was pregnant with the second child. So when Anton was born, September 29th, we decided to, first of all, to dedicate his name to one of the brothers of my father who were executed by Nazis, being, Crimean Jews in 1941, World War II. And so Anton, was given that name. And sadly, like kind of following that path of Anthony, he took his life on night over the 2nd of September. So that's a dedication to him, like feather, he's still flying, definitely.
So two most important people are with you every day.
That's
represented
the way.
every day.
That's the
Zamir,
way.
You've lived a life. You've lived a life.
You know what? I'm turning 69, sweetheart, and I was just passing the Museum of Sex. So at some point, I feel like I'm like 33. I still pay attention to the museums like this.
I know you have a lot of spirit inside of you.
That's the juice which I kind of bottled, talking metaphorically. Now
What
you
did we call
understand.
that? The happy juice?
I call it the juice of peace, or my
Peace
spirit
juice.
of peace.
Okay. What about this necklace you have on your neck? You showed me it before.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
That's new. It's kind of from, this one is my daughter Anna, kind of token of peace.
Okay.
She brought me from Israel. And this one is very recent. You can touch it.
Can I touch
I'll
it?
be right back
Hold
to
on.
the mic.
Okay. What is that? Like a
Any-
tooth or something?
Any ideas? It is the tooth. Just give me like 3 shots. What wild animal would have a tooth of this size? Wild animal.
Like a rhinoceros?
Hot?
I'm
Not
getting
close.
I'm
Two
ge-
more?
It's a land
Wild.
animal, right? Not like a shark or something. It's not like a shark tooth.
Not the shark. no.
Alligator.
Okay, so sweetheart, this is the wild wolf.
I'm like way off.
From
So it's a wolf.
Samarkand. The token, there were some rumors, and I believe that some people put, curse. you know.
Okay, like a hex.
Yeah, and my son would mention a couple of times before he took his life that he was cursed. Thought I didn't know exactly. He wouldn't explain, but it's history now. So at some point, I met the healer, and she said, who is kind of energy-wise, feel you and understand some of your problems. She said that the girlfriend with whom Anton, my son, broke up, she left for her hometown from Moscow, and that could be a trigger for his kind of depression to, jump from the 20th floor of a skyscraper. But, so what was your question? I'm sorry.
The
The
meaning.
thing. So that woman, the healer, said, Zamir, that girl could have put that spell on Anton, and recently my wife found like 3 needles in her, dresser with her personal lingerie, and nobody would enter this holy bedroom, even myself, with advance notice only. But seriously, so I started to believe that some people could put some bet on you. So
it's
when
a
in
protection.
Samarkand, it's a protection.
I love that. And Zamir, thank you for sharing these personal details with us, because I'm sure it's difficult to talk about.
It is, but it took me a while to understand that the more I could share for people who are, let's say, survivors of suicide, and that's part of my tour, like 6 events devoted to fundraising, and some of the proceeds, like in San Diego, this is the biggest thing on November 9th, which will be Sunday, 2:30 to 4:30 at the National History Museum. There is a taco restaurant. So my local friend, Scott, thank you for bringing this whole project into that beautiful hands of a chef, Eddie, who is there. He invited us to do our book signing over there. So anyway, all proceeds from the tickets would go to the local Survivors of Suicide Foundation.
That's
So
amazing, Zamir.
I'm trying to do something to help people at least become aware that that's our mutual pain. So we need to combine our efforts, our knowledge, to call people to just drop a few lines, like you mentioned in the intro, because it's important.
Yeah,
With
connection
COVID,
is powerful.
Yeah, in COVID, people got so much separated from each other. Social network doesn't help for me, just personal. So back to your question, opening a bottle, it's like starting a conversation. I don't mean anyone to
But sometimes
get drunk.
that happens, right?
Well, I don't sell indulgence, so let's be realistic. I rely on people's common sense, like when they know when enough is enough.
Yeah.
That's the downside of my Holy Spirit. I cannot control the young kids. That's why it's expensive. Another way, that's at least symbolic, a way to keep it away from the younger generation than older ones.
Okay, we're going to head to our last commercial break. Stay tuned. More with Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970 The Answer.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back to the show. Tonight we're joined by Zamir Gotta, the Russian soul and global storyteller best known as Anthony Bourdain's unforgettable travel companion. Zamir is here in the States right now to promote his new book, The Fixer and the Chef. Welcome back to the show, Zamir.
Thank you, Christina. I'm honored.
So tell me about your little press tour you're going to be doing while you're here in the States.
Ooh, it kind of started with my idea of just going to the places where I cross-fertilize the land with my Holy Spirit. The juice of peace, which is normally Buffalo. I call it my second home, thanks to Tony's Rust Belt invitation in 2009. Then it would be Toledo. Then it would be normally New Jersey. Amazing place in Stockton, starring Artist Cafe. Hi, Todd, my friend. Thank you for always hosting that beautiful mixture of amazing chefs done food and my, spirited vodka toast, making locals connect and reconnect. So anyway, it would start with 3-4 destinations. I thought then all of a sudden it started to become like a snowball phenomenon. I would get social media invitations to other places. So now, chronologically, it is Stockton, New Jersey on Thursday. Next day, it will be at Caleb's restaurant in Pennsylvania, 15-minute, a small town. I could hardly pronounce it. I haven't been there yet. And then Buffalo, New York, my probably favorite destination in the west of New York. Rochester, New York, overnight train to Toledo, Ohio. Then a bus to Detroit to celebrate my birthday, October 21st. Thank you for bringing it up. So hopefully there'll be more people coming to that Anchor Bar. Just Google them. It's amazing place in downtown. Then it will be Cleveland, French restaurant with Kevin Connor. Thank you for inviting me. He's a Buffalo-raised amazing chef. Then Cincinnati, couple of events, and then I'm flying to Florida to get a little bit of a break. Thank you to Dane, fan I've never seen, who invited me to his Anna Maria's condo to spend 2 nights for free. Thank you, Dane. You delivered the goods. And then, probably for the moment, this is the only one at the Public Library of Boca Raton on November 2nd, 4 to 5 p.m. Those guys who might have bought the books, I know in Florida there's not much time left for reading, but in case you have the book or I bring some to sell, it will be, nice to see you and, sign the books. Then seriously off to San Francisco area, but it will be an event between Sacramento and San Francisco. Windsor, tiny town, Hoofy's Brewery. Then a formal and actually informal get-together at Russian Cinderella Cafe in San Francisco, just 1 hour lunch break, guys. Feel free to join us with my local friends. Everything you could find, all the details at www.zamirgotta.com. So I'm just giving you the chronology only to have advance notice that San Diego would be probably the climax at this National History Museum. And then the last 2 destinations, my favorites probably, St. Louis with 3 events between November 12th and 14th. And Kansas City just confirmed Rosedale's barbecue place where Tony brought me in 2011. Marisha, thank you for inviting us again, and that will be the wrap party to, give tribute to Tony, to celebrate life, and hopefully by that time I will have my audiobook released. So those who don't read books would be forced to buy me narrating this book, and hopefully it will be something not to keep you bored or falling asleep at the wheel.
No, I think that's going to sound great. I would love to listen to the audiobook, coming from your mouth.
First time experience. I normally don't listen to audiobooks. Not my kind of genre. I need to touch the book.
I'm the same way.
Love affair, but this time my friends convinced me to try it, and I really enjoyed every minute of narrating the story.
That's great. Do you have anything else going on outside of the book? Tell me.
Interestingly enough, have you watched Anthony Bourdain's show Uzbekistan? That's where we reconnected after the Cook's tour. The epic scene was when he was enjoying the steam room experience, kind of hammam. And my fault, my bad, I over-tipped the masseur before than I should have done later, but I wanted him just to focus and give the real kind of, massage work, but he overdid it, so it was basically sex harassment scene on the show, which Tony kind of was very uncomfortable to be part of, but, I didn't plan it this way. So anyway, 20 years after, this is the year, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of that show. I decided to go through the same massage, and I felt like cleansed, in a way. All that kind of sins, all that accumulated anger or frustration. There's so many things happening in my life, as you understand by now.
Right.
I felt much better now. Like, I feel like I'm 33. So I would definitely recommend you at some point, and Ryan, go to the nearest steam room, whether it's Turkish or Uzbek or Russian or Finnish. It doesn't matter. It's just the same idea. We're all the same.
That's amazing. Okay. I want to ask, because we are nearing the end of our time together, if there was a lesson that you learned from Anthony Bourdain that stayed very strong with you to this day.
A couple of memos, like number one, Zamir, don't waste time on business meetings, like, he would call businessmen. It took me a while to understand that most of them were trying to force him into commercials or into something which he would never do. As you know, probably once it was some whiskey brand he loved. So
do business with honest people.
With honest people,
that
with
you
people
feel that you feel in your heart are honest.
Exactly. Only. And secondly, never say never, which means, like, it took me 14 years to complete this book. You understood it once you read it. I cannot go into this another 1 hour, airtime. We cannot afford it. But it's like never give up. It just, once you believe in something, just go for it. Try it. There are many other ways to skin a cat in a metaphorical way. Just keep pushing the rock.
That's great. You often talk about people-to-people diplomacy. What does that look like in everyday life?
It's very simple. That's what I am conceiving as book 2, Untold Stories by Uncle Zamir, more like a road movie style, like some amazing people I met out of nowhere on that shows with Tony and on my own Gotta Travel, when I bring the foodies into the world of former Soviet Union, like Uzbekistan, Armenia, Georgia, maybe thinking of Albania next time, maybe Portugal, where I'm going with my book tour. By the way, pleasant surprise, the book is being translated into Portuguese, and by end of November, I'll go to Lisbon and Porto to push it in Portuguese. If we are successful, we go to the Brazil market, It's
right,
like
that's right.
200 million people, not more. So life is about making connections. I never thought someone in Portugal would call me and say, Zamir, I love your role in that show. I love what you do, so let me bring your message to Portuguese people. I said, well, sure. And he even paid me some money to give, exclusive rights for Portugal. I would give it for free, but,
But it's also about keeping the momentum. Once you have momentum with something, just having the inner drive to keep it going.
You said it.
That's where the success really comes from, because some people, they don't have that drive to keep it going long enough until it really takes off. They get defeated.
You're right, the loose steam. That's why I thought that going to that hammam was kind of very reinventing my physical, emotional thing, enabling me to conceive this book number 2, which I'm basically trying to do on my tour, meeting the chefs whom I met years ago and reconnecting, especially in St. Louis, Kui, Ben, Anthony's rather just, amazing people who are waiting for me, and I'm waiting to reconnect for this book tour events. It just started to connect. At the end
when
of
you
the
were
day.
writing The Fixer and The Chef, what kind of memories were you flooded with? Because it really covers your whole life.
I think I was stuck basically at the very beginning with some of the kind of, we call it like home ghosts, like sometimes you don't want to go into that dirty linen between, family members, blah, blah, blah. But it took me a while to overcome it, and thanks to my co-writer, Miriam Margala, you're amazing. I had 4 male co-writers until I met her, and I never got that Zamir's voice into that kind of narration. They helped me to bring in better English. With her, I'm lucky with women. Like with you now, I feel at home. My wife is just cooking the best food in the world. I have many friends, like in Florida, Irina, looking forward to see you with your family in about 3 weeks. Blessed. Lisa in Plymouth. So, it will be taking me another hour, sweetheart. I cannot, impose too much of my love and connection to women around the globe. But you definitely make a world much better and safer and more peaceful.
Aw, that was so nice, Zamir. Well, I do thank you for taking the time out to come on the show, because I know you have a busy press schedule while you're here in the States, but you were my inspiration for the Ingredient of the Week feature on the show.
Which is?
Okay, this week's Ingredient of the Week is one that's as old as civilization itself, the humble pickle From Moscow to Manila, from New York delis to Mediterranean markets, pickling is one of the world's oldest ways to capture flavor and time itself in a jar. Pickling has ancient origins. Historians trace it back over 4,000 years to Mesopotamia. In Russia and Eastern Europe, pickled cucumbers, beets, tomatoes, cabbage, and mushrooms are winter staples, celebrated for their tang and crunch. For Zamir Gotta, they're a taste of home, the essence of old world comfort food and long, lauder-filled tables. Pickling is all about acid and thyme. And there are two main types. You have fermented pickles, where bacteria create lactic acid, think sauerkraut or even kimchi. And then you have quick pickles, where vegetables are soaked in vinegar, salt, and spices for flavor and preservation. Both methods create that iconic balance of sour, salty, and sometimes sweet, and help foods last far beyond their season. Pickling connects kitchens across the world, a true global ingredient, just like Zamir's spirit. Did you like that, Zamir?
I'm like blushing. And I have an idea for co-branding, sweetheart. You don't know what you are even just stepping into.
Oh, well, we'll talk after the show.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on AM 970 The Answer. Tune in next week when I'm joined by Katie DiCapria of the Hershey Company for the Halloween show. At the Hershey Company, Katie leads the iconic Halloween portfolio, driving strategy, innovation, and activation for the company's biggest season. Her work focuses on shaping the future of seasonal celebrations by bringing together consumer insights, breakthrough innovation, and iconic marketing activation to grow the category and inspire family traditions nationwide. But that is the show for tonight, and it was amazing. Thank you, Zamir.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, kids. Do your homework.
That's it for the show tonight. Thank you for listening, and have a great night.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.